Senator Francis Heyliger, you recognize for your 7 minutes, followed by Senator Potter.
Thank you. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of this territory. Good morning to the testifiers, Attorney Russell and Mr. Hughes. I hope everyone is enjoying their day, as well as this is Flag Day. We did have a short ceremony outside earlier here in the District of St. Thomas, St. John, and I am very, very proud to be a Virgin Islander and celebrate my flag as well. I want to ask a couple of questions. Mr. Hughes, in your testimony, you spoke a little bit earlier in regards to Royal Caribbean and the chambers having conversations with them. Can you share a little bit about those conversations with us in regards to what direction that they have expressed they're headed in?
Right.
Let me make sure. Good morning, Senator. First, that the conversation was both chambers. I think all three chambers represented for all three islands was included in that town hall conversation. So by and large, it was more of what we can do as far as educating our member base. As far as the specific directions, speaking for St. Croix, if we're included in that two-port strategy, it's more what we can do as far as once the guests land on St. Croix, our shore excursions, especially. I'm sure Mr. Russell understands that what can be there in Frederiksted, what they will be able to experience while being here on the island of St. Croix. We don't have a specific list of those items yet. We are working in collaboration, both internally as well as I think Royal Caribbean is also doing their own survey. So there's no specific list yet. And as well as the number of protocols we will get, I think that's still in the work. Again, they as a large organization is also looking at the reopening, how to bring safe guests, as I think one of the other senators mentioned, bring guests here safely, that it still meets our guidelines. So I'm very confident that our Department of Health will work on that as well.
Okay, definitely. And thank you for sharing that with us. I want to talk a little bit about the safety aspect. Has the chambers or the Frederiksted organization, have you guys dealt with seeing that since we are still in the middle of a pandemic, businesses are closing down, we've seen somewhat of a rise in crime across the board in various areas. What has your organizations been doing in regards to dealing with the potential aspect of safety, whether it's dealing with the businesses, tourists alike, et cetera?
I'll go first. From the chamber perspective, we have been in dialogue with various government institutions, the commissioner, and so forth, making sure we can get an understanding of the plan. I think Senator James even said the presence is by and large a great part of it in the various cities where businesses operate. So things like that we're looking to see more of. But as far as having something to express to you as far as what our businesses are saying or doing specific to the areas that they operate in and what impact it has, I think it's just like you said, it's happening across the board. It's just a community sentiment of being able to go out and be safe as you patronize these places of business, usually after dark, right? So,
you mentioned you had over 100+ businesses in your organization. So is this something that your organization does, whether to survey its members or to see during what's happening with COVID that's having the most impact on them to include potentially crime?
Yeah, so obviously we have some surveys in play right now, and as soon as I get those in relationship to a question about the impact of, as far as crime, the board itself looking over what has happened in the territory in the last, I guess at the time it was brought to our attention, again, as both businesses and folks in the community, was what was happening in the first part of this fiscal year. As far as the other numbers I gave, as far as impact of what we see at business for COVID, yes, initially being closed, access to talent, to a workforce is a challenge. Even last night I was talking to a gentleman, he just can't find people to work. Or work the hours that he needs them. So, our workforce is a challenge. And obviously reopening, businesses have pivoted, those who can, to both an internal, external ability to meet the social distancing. Not all businesses have that opportunity. So it's just really fluid right now. And so hope to get those statistics a little bit more shored up and to the board here. As soon as we get those, I would be more than happy to send them over to everyone. Yes.
Well,
Senator
I would
Francis,
look forward
may I
to seeing those.
contribute to the discussion?
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. We had discussed a police presence in Frederiksted at a board of trustees meeting some time ago, and we are committed to trying to get police presence in Frederiksted, walking and patrolling. We think that the governor's initiative, when he, used to patrol the beaches with COVID, was something that should continue. And then the second thing we discussed was having cameras in the town, cameras to give people a better sense of security, with cameras are placed in strategic places in the town. We discussed that. And we are going to promote that very, very strongly from our town, Frederiksted. We believe that the COVID funding that was provided, some of that should be going to, town cameras, so that people could feel safe. So the police, we discussed police presence, and we discussed having cameras in the towns, and we want to promote that with the governor and the legislature, because, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, because I do support both of those initiatives. I am a big supporter of having more police presence patrolling our neighborhoods and our communities, as well as creating a situation where more cameras are throughout our community to help deter crime in a way where people know that in this area we can see what's happening. I want to ask a little bit. Mr. Chair, may I ask my final question?
You may proceed.
Thank you so much. With the CDC coming out with a new ruling in regards to vaccination, as well as cutting back on wearing masks if you're fully vaccinated, et cetera, what are some of the businesses, specifically, for example, those are restaurants or other businesses where people have to come in and maybe sit and congregate? How does the Chamber of Commerce or even various organizations plan on dealing with that? Because I'm trying to see, even from a tourist standpoint and dealing with locals, how do you see that? Because I'm trying to figure out myself how it's going to work. Specifically, how do you tell who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated? Are you going to have to now put out your medical history publicly to utilize certain businesses? I need to get some idea as to whether your organization has thought about that, and what potentially is going to be resolutions in making sure there's a happy balance.
Well, Senator, one of the first things I'll tell you is we will be looking for the governor and the Department of Health to make those decisions and changes, and we will encourage our businesses to abide by those. So I think it's not necessarily what we would like, but more of what is going to keep our businesses, the people that work for them, and the folks that patronize those businesses to be kept safe. So we've been in conversations, so we're just waiting for the governor and the Department of Health to make that call. I think they would be the right entity to keep us safe, as they have been doing their best so far.
So basically, your thought process, as individual businesses, they need to revert and wait on the government, even though this is a directive that's already come out from the federal government. We need to wait for the local aspect of it. That's what you're suggesting?
I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong in that aspect. I think, for instance, I think one of the folks was saying earlier, one of the senators was saying, although you're vaccinated, to still come into the Virgin Islands, you have to still upload a test. And so that was one of the things that I had. If you're going to be vaccinated, do you still need a test? I think whatever we need to do, the best judgment, obviously it's up to you as a business, and we would always suggest that you follow suit. You can make decisions within your own entities, but again, I think as a board, I trust that the governor and the Department of Health will set those guidelines and those recommendations or suggestions of how businesses can continue to operate, given CDC's local situations, so that we can all operate safely throughout the territory.
Okay, Attorney Russell, you may.
Yeah, the businesses in Frederickstead have been complying. I mean, they've been complying with the local health protocol. And I've visited a lot of the businesses just to see if it's happening, and they're complying. What I think is going to happen, and we will bring it up in our next meeting, whether you have to say to participate, you have to be vaccinated. And to participate in certain events, I think that it's a safety issue as to if you're really going to be in close quarters, like, for example, if it's in a club, where people dancing or having a good time, you might want to have a vaccination protocol simply to avoid having people in close contact that are not vaccinated. So we're going to discuss it at our meeting, and we might suggest to the Department of Health something that might give businesses a safer environment to participate, which is meaning that if you can't get vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated, you really can't participate in the event. That's something that we will discuss with our team, and we'll discuss it with the Department of Health and find out would that meet the CDC protocols.
Well, thank you to both of you for putting your perspectives on the record. Mr. Chair, thank you for your indulgence of time.
Thank you, Senator Heyliger. Senator Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon again to the testifiers, the people of this territory. The first thing I want to ask, and this is to all the testifiers, there was a program that I was aware of, one of my friends in another one of the Caribbean islands. They have a public-private partnership with their government that partnered with individuals that had derelict buildings. And in this public-private partnership, they funded for them to assist to deal with the exterior of their structures to make sure that that beautification aspect of it, and also partnered later on to assist with those taking out loans to assist with fixing the interior. Do you think something, or even a hybrid or something like that sort, could potentially assist with the overall beautification of our territory and potentially see that tourist aspect of it, where tourists come to the territory, and even us as locals living here would like to see the Virgin Islands look a little bit better? What are your thoughts on a potential program like that?
I'll speak for the Chamber. This is Leon Hughes. First and foremost, personally, I think anything like that is definitely something that we should put as a project, pin up and vet it out. I definitely feel that we are all for public and private partnership. Obviously, any beautification of any town or asset, even along the way between Frederickstead to Christiansted. One of the things that we talked about to the tourism is that stretch in St. Croix, leaving one city to the next. What could we have that we can articulate and show along that drive if you're moving a tourist from from west to east? So anything that can beautify the town, I'm all for it. And so obviously we can bring that forward to the Chamber board, to our memberships, survey, and see if there's participants within that group that have the skill set and the fortitude to come true and be one of those partners should something like that move along. But I think, again, it has to be a one community, public and private. It can't be all one entity doing this, and get community folks involved, like Ms. Gerard's saying, get our youth involved. I think when I used to go to school and we paint the walls. The next year we go back, you don't want anybody putting crayons on the wall. So again, involving our folks in the community to be a part of the restoration, it builds that VI pride. And again, it's a win-win for all, including those who come to visit.
Definitely.
Okay,
Any of the other testifiers?
Runner-up, yeah. We discussed a project like that with Governor Brian. Our town Frederick met with him, and he discussed that. We wanted to expand it to include Frandel Gerard's organization and other organizations in Frederiksted, so that conservatorship is what we were looking at. And the conservatorship would include the organizations of Frederiksted who have an interest. And that conservatorship would assist the owners of properties, anybody who own property in the town, to get in more money to revitalize their property and to provide an incentive to other owners of properties to try to do it. We have not drafted a document for the conservatorship yet, but we were on track with the governor's approval, and we want to get all of the organizations in Frederiksted involved before we do that endeavor. But the plan was in place. The governor spoke to our town Frederiksted about it, and we want to move forward. But we haven't gotten all of the organizations together in Frederiksted to put it in place as yet. So we have a plan. We'll implement it as soon as we get it organized.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask another question. One of the things as a senator that is my responsibility is to get as much data and information from organizations such as yours so I could potentially make better decisions on behalf of the people of this territory. Now, what I want to find out from each of you, what is your vision and view currently to see tourism expand in the territory right now during this COVID pandemic, but what also is your vision for the future of tourism in St. Croix?
This is Leon Hughes. I'll speak from the chamber perspective. Being on the Governor's Workforce Development Board and having an opportunity to be amongst many very critical leaders in the chamber and having members of the chamber who do a lot for the community, I think it resonates that we all want to do more to see tourism come to the Virgin Islands. In the short term, like I said, we've had an opportunity to participate just recently in a town hall whereby Royal Caribbean was developing or starting to have those initial conversations of coming back in the territory, how those cruise lines are going to look, whether they're vaccinated to meet the various Department of Health, both locally and CDC. And then again, also, what is it that we need to look like for St. Croix? I found out just recently working with Royal Caribbean that we have one of the highest expectations to be visited by their consortium, and we have to do a good job in having things for them to do once they get here to the Virgin Islands, whether it's parks in the West or different set of activities. I was part of, I don't want to say I sold it completely, but Senator Violet brought this up, but one of the things that I talked about with them significantly, and it raised their antennas, is how great our food, we're a foodie country, and our beverage and our history. And so those things, I had conversation and have been moving those things forward on the behalf of the chamber as well. But collectively, I see tourism as, it's going to be a different for St. Croix. I think we need to lean in on our historic value, our buildings, our infrastructure, our food. That's really where I see we can stand out from the other islands and attract, because there are, having been working in the industry prior to, coming to the Virgin Islands for one of the top companies in the country, Region 7 Seas, they focus on the customer or the shore excursion experience. And as I'm out and about, I think that's what resonates, making sure that when folks get here, they have quality things to engage on, and we give quality customer service. It's our responsibility to be good stewards of our country too. And I think the tourism will come. We're seeing COVID, they can't go abroad, they can come here. And so I don't want to say the pandemic has done us a good thing, but it's kind of forced a smaller funnel into the Virgin Islands where people would have otherwise maybe chose a different place to go. So now we have to, curate that data and get back in front of those folks. And I think Senator Francis said it, we have to lean in on technology. How do we socially and digitally, captivate and bring folks back and remind them of all the things that we do here in the community, for not just our carnival, but there's so much little things in between. There's arts festival and jump up and all these things that we can do to create an agenda for folks to want to come year over year, month over month.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I'd like to jump in thank you for the question, since we've been a big piece of the tourism industry the last 12, 15 years. There's one thing that we need to recognize, which is that the growth in tourism pre-COVID is the traveler that's looking to connect with the place. And it's called cultural tourism, heritage tourism, ecotourism. People, and those are the people that come, they stay longer, they eat in the local restaurants, they find the experiences that connect more with the place. They're not the 4 or 5 hour excursion people. So they're two different markets, and the marketing for the culture heritage tourism is something that the Department of Tourism has done over the last 8 years. And there is indication from the current Commissioner of Tourism that that's the St. Croix, that's what they're selling on St. Croix. So what we have to make sure of is that, I heard some guy telling a tourist about the 8th flag that flew over St. Croix, and I was stopped and I was like, what are you talking about? Well, the pirates. I said the pirates were slavers and their flag didn't fly here. So that's not the story. That's not the history. So we have too many people in the industry that are not knowledgeable and giving misinformation. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the businesses, the hotels, the tour operators, all of that they take the time to have their people trained. And we offer that service. But the other piece is for the cruise ships, we hear that there's not a lot to do. I see the 20, 30, 40 opportunities that are offered every time a ship comes to St. Croix. I see that only 20 to 30% of the capacity of those tours are taken advantage of. So because the people that are now on cruise ships, the ship is the destination. And we have to understand that we are competing against the ship. And we can't do it cheap enough. So when a tourist gets off in Frederiksted and they have to pay to be transported to Christiansted, they will stay in Frederiksted. The reality is that the cruise ship traveler now is a bargain traveler. It's not high end. It is someone who is looking for a bargain every time they hit an island. So providing excursions that meet in that income bracket becomes more and more challenging.
Well, thank you so much for that information. Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, I want to thank you. Did you have anything you wanted to share, Mr. Russell?
I just wanted to say, I encore, and I have to step out for 20 minutes from this meeting, and I'll be back in 20 minutes, Mr. Chair. I have something urgent to deal with. Thank you.
In 20 minutes, we'll be long over. Thank you. We have one more.
Thank you so much.
Are you wrapped up, Senator Heyliger?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the testifiers for that insightful information. And at the end of the day, I think with how we're doing these meetings, we're going to get some things right. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Heyliger.